Welcome back to another video on the Armstore YouTube channel. This is part 1 of the BAMF 2 DLG build log. First, let's take a quick look at the tools and equipment that I'll be using for this build. Most of these will be linked in the description box below. Next, let's take a look at what's included with the BAMF 2 kit. And for this build, we're using 4 KST X08 and V5 servos. First, let's roughen up all the control horns with the Dremel and a burr bit so they have a better bond when glued into the control surfaces. Spray them down with rubbing alcohol and then wipe them clean. This is the control horn for the rudder, the elevator, and the flaperons. Next, mask the elevator and draw a straight line down the center. Mark the hinge location and then mark 1mm from that. Then, use the control horn to mark the length. Double check the lines, then cut through the line where the elevator will go with a fresh hobby knife. Now be careful, this initial cut should only go through the top carbon skin and foam core. Make sure you don't cut through the bottom skin by accident. After removing the masking tape, I use a thin, fine file to widen the slot to fit the control horn. Don't make it too wide to start, it's better to start small and widen if needed. Now it fits perfectly. Before gluing it in, I spray and wipe it once more to ensure a good bond. Then I fit it, make sure it's 90 degrees to the surface, and glue it with thin CA. Hit it with kicker, then build up a fillet. Next, mask the rudder with masking tape, then draw a line down the center as well. Mark the hinge line, then mark the control horn right up against the hinge. Then just repeat the process like the elevator. Grab one of the wires for the tail springs and bend the two ends. The middle section determines how stiff the spring is going to be, and we want it 60mm long. The way I like to do it is to have both legs pointing in the same direction and in the same plane. And when you're done the first one, just repeat it for the second spring. Poke a hole through the prefaced rudder hinge right beside the control horn. Then insert a spring carefully, making sure it doesn't poke through the skins. Put the second leg against the prefaced hinge on the main part of the fin and use that as reference on where to poke the hole for the second leg. Insert the second leg of the spring into the fin carefully, also making sure it doesn't poke through the surface of the fin. Now that it's prepped and fitted, take the spring out and dip the two legs in white Gorilla Glue before inserting it back into the tail. Gorilla Glue foams up and expands as it cures, so it fills up any voids inside the tail and strengthens the whole area so there will be minimal imprint of the spring on the surface, and it prevents the spring from poking through the surface from the torque it produces. Make sure the spring is seated all the way up against the pre-faced hinge surfaces, then set it aside to repeat the spring installation on the elevator. Hey, if you're enjoying this video, make sure you press like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell icon. This lets YouTube know you're enjoying this, so in turn, they'll make it more visible to others who are also interested in gliders. This really helps our channel grow. Thank you. Next, let's roughen up the ballast tube and the inside of the fuselage with a ball end burr bit. Spray it with alcohol and thoroughly wipe all the surfaces clean. Fit the tube into the fuselage with the flared end facing forward, then wick in thin CA. The tube should be aligned straight, with the flared end just past the front of the saddle opening. Hit it with kicker, then let's work on the wings. After masking the root of the flaperon and marking the hinge line, draw a line 1 mm from the end of the flaperon. Next, offset the hinge line by 1 mm, then use the wing control horn to mark the length and width of the slot that needs to be cut. Double check to make sure that the measurements are good, then begin cutting the slot with a fresh blade. I like to start with the side closer to the end as it'll give a cleaner finished product. And of course, be careful while cutting. It should only go through the top surface and the foam. Don't cut through the bottom skin. Peel off the skin, then remove the exposed foam. Since the foam was already cut, the exposed foam can be easily removed and the sides of the slot will be nice and clean. Great for bonding. The horn fits perfect, so let's peel off the tape and repeat this process on the other wing. With slots prepared, insert the joiner into the wings and mount the wing to the fuselage. Do a final test fit to make sure the horns are spaced symmetrically on the left and right wings. Then clean them thoroughly one more time. For our installations, I don't have the control horns perpendicular to the wing surface. I like to have them parallel to the fuselage walls so they're tucked closer to the fuse. Wicken thin CA to the outside joint. This step is just to hold the horns in place, so we're not going to soak the area in CA yet. Once both horns are held in place, take the wing off the fuselage and disassemble the wing back into two pieces. Deflect the flaperon and wicken thin CA to securely glue the control horn to the wing. Allow the thin CA to soak into the joint so that the foam around the horn is also solidified, and alternate between CA and kicker to build up a nice fillet around the joint. Now just repeat this process on the other wing. Download the BAMF 2 blade install template and print it with no scaling. Cut out the template, mask the wingtip, and draw the blade location using the template. I cut out the opening on the tape so I can get closer to the edge with the Dremel without disturbing the tape. Then I start the hole with a pointed burr bit. Then I switch to a straight bit so I can cut the opening with straight walls. Even though we're getting closer to the edges of the tape, the opening will still be smaller than needed because of the curve between the template we used and the pen used to making the marking. Always cut small and expand slowly as needed to get that perfect fit. Once the fit is perfect, remove the tape and roughen up the blade for a better bond. It's important when roughening up the blade to only go through the paint and epoxy to expose the carbon, but try not to go through the carbon itself. Spray it with alcohol and clean it thoroughly. I'm also roughening up the wingtip right around the opening. This is to prepare it for the fillet. Make sure to do it for both the top and bottom surfaces, then spray and wipe clean. Insert the blade back into the wingtip. I like to align the blade perpendicular to the wingtip. Wicken thin CA to bond the blade to the wing. Hit it with kicker, then wicken more thin CA. Repeat this until the thin CA is no longer wicking into the joint. Next, we're going to build up the fillet with Loctite 380. It's a rubberized CA. Rubberized CA is not brittle like regular CA, and so it gives a nice, tough joint. Hit it with kicker and repeat this on the other side. And that's it. Thank you for joining us for part 1 of the build log. Be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss part 2, and we'll see you soon.